Clock struck 7, and the whole house was filled with noise, the clinking of teacups, hurried footsteps, and a tension so thick it was hard to breathe. You had no idea why everyone had been suddenly called to the living room. Your father sat on the couch rubbing his temples. Your mother kept pacing, her eyes red as if she had been crying for a while. Your sister Mina sat quietly in a corner, her fingers twisting the edge of her scarf nervously. You frowned, stepping into the room. What's going on? Why is everyone acting so weird? No one answered for a few seconds. Then your mother finally looked up. Wine, something happened. The John family, they changed their decision. Your brows furrowed. What do you mean they changed their decision? The wedding is in 3 days. Your mother's lips trembled. They said they want you to be the bride, not Mina. The room went silent again. You laughed in disbelief, shaking your head. What? That's ridiculous. Why would they even? They said John Jungkook's mother believes you are more suitable. Your father cut in, voice heavy. She came herself this evening, said if we don't agree, the wedding will be called off. You stare at them all, your chest tightening. Called off? So what? Let it be called off. You can't just switch brides like it's some kind of joke. What do you think this is, huh? A play? A game where you can just change the characters last minute? Why and listen. Your father tried to reason. No, you listen. You interrupted, your voice rising. Did you even ask Jungkook what he wants? Maybe he doesn't even agree to this madness. Before anyone could answer, a firm voice came from behind. I did ask him. You turned, and there she was, Mrs. John herself, elegant and proud, standing at your doorway with her chin slightly raised. I asked him, she repeated, walking in slowly, and he said he will marry whoever I choose for him. Her words cut like ice. So what now? You asked, your tone bitter. You just walk into people's homes and decide whose daughter your son will marry next. You think you can play with people's lives because you have more money and power? Your mother gasped softly. Why, don't talk like that. No, mom. You said sharply. This is wrong. So wrong. Mrs. John didn't flinch. Wrong or right, that's not my concern. My concern is my son's future, and I have made my decision. If this wedding doesn't happen, the John family will consider this alliance broken. The business deal, the partnership, everything will end. You could see her father's face pale instantly. He looked helpless, small in front of that woman's authority. Mrs. John, please give us some time. Your father pleaded. The girls are shocked, but there's no time. She cut him off coldly. My son's future doesn't wait. Either Ryan becomes my daughter in law, or there will be no wedding at all. Then she turned, gave you one long hard look, and left. The door closed behind her, and the silence that followed felt unbearable. You took a shaky breath. I can't believe this. You whispered more to yourself. You're actually considering this, aren't you? Your father stayed quiet. Your mother just looked down, tears pooling in her eyes. We don't have a choice, Ryan. Your father finally said in a low, broken tone. You know how much is at stake. Our reputation, the contract. Oh my god, Dad. You yelled, frustrated. Reputation, money, is that all you care about? What about Meena only? What about me? Meena looked up at you then, her eyes glassy. Vian stopped. No, Meena, you were supposed to marry him. You liked him, didn't you? You, I did, she whispered, but it doesn't matter now. You turned toward her, your anger melting into disbelief. How can you say that? Meena stood up and walked to you, her hands trembling as she held yours. Because I don't want to see mom and dad ruined. You know what will happen if they cancel everything now. The Johns will destroy our family's name. We can't fight them, Ryan. Tears stung your eyes. Meena, this isn't fair to you. I know. she said softly. But maybe this is fate. Maybe it's meant to be you. You pulled your hands back, shaking your head. Don't say that. I can't just marry someone who doesn't even want me. You think he'll accept this? He'll hate me. Maybe, she said, a weak smile forming, but maybe he won't. Please, Ryan, do this for mom and dad, for us. You looked into her pleading eyes, the same eyes that once shone with dreams of her wedding, and your heart broke. You wanted to scream, to run away, to make the world stop and think how unfair this was, but all you could do was stand there, frozen, as her words echoed in your ears. Please, Ryan, just this once. Save our family. It's my request. And that night, while everyone else tried to rest, you sat by her window, eyes wet, heart numb, whispering to yourself, why me? You didn't know it then, but this one decision would change your life forever. The days that followed felt like a blur. Your house turned into a storm of noise, relatives coming and going, decorators climbing ladders, the smell of marigolds filling every corner. But none of it felt real. You still couldn't believe it. You, not me, I was going to marry John Jungkook. Every time someone said your name with his in the same sentence, your chest tightened. You tried to talk to your parents again, but they just kept saying the same thing. We don't have a choice, Ryan. And Mrs. John, she made sure it stayed that way. It was the third day after her visit when you finally gathered enough courage to go to the John mansion yourself. You thought maybe, just maybe, if you could talk to Jungkook, you could convince him to speak to his mother and end this madness. The mansion was bigger than you imagined. Guards stood by the gate, bowing politely as you entered. You were led to the grand living room where Mrs. John sat, sipping tea like a queen who ruled everything she saw. Ryan, she greeted smoothly, setting her cup down. What a pleasant surprise to see my daughter in law. What made you come here, sweetheart? You hesitated. I came to talk to Jungkook. Her lips curved slightly. Can't wait till marriage, huh? I'm just joking. He's busy. I won't take long. You said, trying to sound calm, but your heart was racing. Please, I need to talk to him. She looked at you for a moment, eyes sharp, calculating. You know why I like you so much? You are bold. I didn't come here to be liked, you said firmly. I came here to fix this mistake. Her gaze hardened. There is no mistake. Yes, there is. You raised your voice, unable to hold it anymore. You can't just swap brides and expect everything to be fine. He doesn't even what? She interrupted, standing up. Doesn't even want you? Oh, trust me, my dear. My son doesn't want anyone. That's exactly the problem. He doesn't listen. He doesn't love. He doesn't care. But you? She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing slightly. You are not afraid of me. You talk back. You question. You fight. I see myself in you, and I'm telling you, he'll like you for sure. You blinked, stunned by her words. So that's why you chose me, because I remind you of you? She smiled faintly. Exactly. You couldn't believe what you were hearing. This isn't about me or you. This is about two lives you're playing with. But she didn't respond. She simply turned away, adjusting her bracelet. The decision is final, Ryan. You'll understand someday that not everything in life happens by choice. Some things just have to happen. You felt the lump rise in your throat. You are wrong, you said quietly. This isn't fate, it's force. And with that, you turned and left. What you didn't know was that at that same moment, Jungkook was sitting in his study upstairs, furious, confused, and just as trapped. His mother had made a decision before even asking him. When he tried to argue, she had only said one thing: she's the one I want in this family, Jungkook. End of discussion. For days he tried everything, calling off the wedding, talking to his father, even sending a message to your father asking for a private conversation. But every attempt failed. His mother blocked every chance you two had to meet. Back home, you paced in your room, overthinking everything. Why wasn't he saying anything? Was he okay with it? Was he silent because he agreed? You didn't know he was trying just as hard as you were. The night before the wedding, you sat by her window again, watching the street lights blur in your tears. Veena came in quietly, carrying your wedding dress in her hands. I had them alter it for you, she said softly. It fits now. You looked up at her, guilt written all over your face. Meena. She smiled weakly. Don't cry. I want you to be happy, okay? How can I be happy when this was supposed to be yours? She shook her head. Maybe it was never meant to be mine. You looked away, your throat tight. I don't even know him, Meena. I don't even know what kind of person he is. You'll find out, and maybe he'll find you too. The next morning came too soon. The wedding hall was shining, white flowers, golden drapes, guests everywhere, smiles that felt empty. You moved like a shadow doing what you were told, letting your mother fix your veil, your father bless you with trembling hands. And when you finally looked up, he was there, John Jungkook, standing at the altar, his expression unreadable, cold, silent, but his jaw tight, as if he too was fighting something inside. Your heart sank. He didn't even look at you. Every step you took toward him felt heavier than the last. The priest's words blurred, the vows felt like noise, and when the garland touched your neck and the ring slid into your fingers, you could only think of one thing. He doesn't want me, and I don't want this. But fate didn't care because by the end of the evening, under the sound of cheers and blessings, you became Mrs. John Jungkook, and the world believed it was a happy beginning, while both of you silently wished it never happened. The wedding was over, but the silence that followed it was louder than the music that had played all evening. You sat on the edge of the bed, your heavy jewelry already removed, the bridal veil lying forgotten on the floor. The room was big, too big, and cold, painted in quiet shades of luxury that didn't belong to you. The door opened. Jungkook stepped in, still wearing his tuxedo. His thighs slightly loosened, his eyes met yours for a second before drifting away, as if he couldn't decide whether to speak or stay silent. Neither of you said anything for a long time. The ticking clock filled the air. Finally, you stood up. We need to talk. He nodded slightly, walking to the other side of the room. I know. You took a breath, steadying your voice. I didn't want this marriage. Neither I, he said quietly. You frowned. Then why didn't you stop it? His eyes lifted to meet yours, sharp, tired, and full of something you couldn't name. I tried. My mother didn't listen. I told her I didn't want to marry at all. Not your sister, not you, no one. The words stung a little, even though you already knew. So that's it? You asked bitterly. You just gave up? He looked at you, expression unreadable, and you didn't? Your lips parted. What? You didn't fight either, he said, his tone calm but his words cutting deep. You stood there, let them dress you up, and said your vows. You became the replacement. You felt your chest tighten. You think I wanted this? You think it was easy for me to take my sister's place? You don't know what I went through. I'm not saying it was easy. Jungkook replied quietly. I'm saying you didn't fight hard enough. You stared at him, anger and hurt mixing in your chest. If you were that brave, then why didn't you stop it? You knew it wasn't my sister standing beside you. You had the power to walk away. He clenched his jaw, looking away. I told you I didn't want to marry anyone, but walking away would have destroyed both families. So here we are. Silence fell for a second. You took a slow breath, your voice trembling now. Fine, then let's make this simple. He looked back at you. You straightened your shoulders. We'll do what they want. Pretend for now, attend the parties, the family dinners, smile when they tell us to. And after a few months, when things settle down, you post your eyes hard. We'll end this quietly. He didn't answer at first, then slowly he nodded. Fine. It wasn't agreement, it was surrender. No more words were spoken after that. He picked up a pillow and blanket, laid them on the couch, and turned off the light. You lay on the opposite side of the room, staring at the ceiling, wondering how a life could change so completely in just 1 week. Days turned into weeks, the John mansion became your new cage. You lived under the same roof, but it didn't feel like a marriage. It was an agreement. At breakfast, you sat across from each other, exchanging polite words when Mrs. John was around. At parties, you smiled and held his arm when people looked, pretending to be the perfect couple. And when the world wasn't watching, you both went back to silence. You stayed busy with your own work, filling your time with small things, reading, helping the staff, spending hours in the garden. Jungkook worked long hours, coming home late, barely saying more than a quiet good night. But sometimes your eyes met, like that night when you were returning from the balcony and he was sitting by the window half asleep, his hair messy, shirt undone at the collar. For a second, you just looked at him, not as your husband, not as the man forced into your life, but as someone who looked just as lonely as you. He noticed your gaze. What? He asked, his voice low. You blinked, embarrassed. Nothing. You just looked tired. He gave a faint smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. Guess, pretending takes effort. You didn't reply, but for some reason, his tone made your heart ache. And that's the reason you stopped fighting him because you realized you both were on the same boat. It will give you nothing by blaming him. Weeks later, at a charity event, people kept complimenting how perfect you two looked together. You forced a smile, nodding your arm looped around his as cameras flashed, but then you felt it. The way his hand tightened slightly on yours when someone called your name. You looked up surprised. He didn't say anything, but his thumb brushed against your knuckles just once, a small, wordless gesture that confused you more than you wanted to admit. And that's how it started, slowly, quietly, in stolen glances and unspoken words. The line between pretending and feeling began to blur, and neither of you realized when it happened, because sometimes even the most unwanted beginnings can turn into something neither heart expected. It was a slow Saturday evening when one of Jungkook's old business friends dropped by. You didn't know him well, tall, loud, the kind of man who spoke as if every sentence needed an audience. Jungkook was in his study, going over documents about a new business branch he wanted to open. You happened to be there too, sitting on the couch with your coffee, half listening as they talked. For a while, everything was normal, just two men talking business, until that man leaned back in his chair and laughed. Well, I suppose you have already gotten your share of luck, he said with a smirk. A new company, a beautiful wife handed to you by fate. You are living quite a life. Jungkook didn't even look up from his papers. It's not as lucky as it looks. You smiled faintly at his honesty, thinking the topic would end there, but the man didn't stop. He leaned forward, lowering his voice, his tone turning ugly. Is that so? Okay then, if you ever want to make a good deal, I could always. Jungkook looked at him, raising his brow. What deal? Daniel smirked, stealing a glance toward you, then looked back at him. I'll give you $1 million for one night stand with your wife. Your jaw tensed. You could have gone to him and punched his face, but you looked at Jungkook to see what he'll do. Jungkook's head snapped up. His expression changed so fast that it frightened you. His eyes, usually calm and unreadable, were blazing. What did you just say? Jungkook's voice dropped, low and dangerous. The man stammered a bit, clearly startled. I just meant, don't take it so seriously. It was a joke. A joke? Jungkook rose from his chair, slamming his palm on the desk. You think it's funny to talk like that about my wife? The air in the room went cold. You froze where you sat, your heart hammering. You had never seen him like that before, shoulders stiff, jaw tight, fist trembling as he took a step closer to his friend. Say it again. Jungkook won. Go on. I want to hear you say it again. The man tried to laugh it off, but his voice shook. Hey man, relax. Before he could finish, Jungkook's fist connected with his jaw. The sound echoed through the study. He stumbled back, clutching his face, eyes wide with shock. You've lost your mind. Get out. Jungkook said through gritted teeth, before I lose it completely. No one moved for a second. Then Daniel turned and hurried out, muttering something under his breath, but you barely heard it. Jungkook stood there breathing heavily, his hand bleeding slightly from the punch. You slowly got up. You didn't have to. He turned toward you, still furious, but his voice softer now. Don't. Don't ever think I would stand and listen to someone disrespect you. You stare at him, the vein on his neck still tense, his breathing uneven, his fist trembling slightly from anger, and for some reason your voice came out colder than you meant it to be. Why did you get so offended? You asked quietly, folding your arms. He was offering you a good deal, wasn't he? $1 million. That's what you wanted for your new project, right? His head snapped toward you, eyes widening slightly. The anger in them softened into something else, something darker and deeper. What did you just say? He murmured, voice low but sharp. You met his gaze, refusing to flinch. It's not like I'm your actual wife. You made it clear this marriage means nothing, so why did you hit him? He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. Not my actual wife, he repeated, his voice almost a whisper, and then he chuckled, humorless, bitter, the kind that made your stomach twist. He took another step closer until his breath brushed your cheek. Are you not? Wear a ring that has my name engraved inside. You signed my last name beside yours. You live in my house. Legally, you are mine. Her heart skipped, the air tightening between you. But you said, I said I didn't want this marriage. He interrupted quietly. Not you, not your sister, not anyone, because I thought I didn't need anyone. His gaze softened, the anger gone now, replaced by something raw. But then you came into my life, and it stopped being about what I wanted. It became about what I couldn't stop feeling. You froze, words catching in your throat. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere between pretending to be your husband in front of others and watching you actually smile when no one was looking, I started wishing it wasn't fake. You blinked, taken aback. Jungkook. He shook his head. You think I cared about his deal because of money? He took another step forward, his hand brushing your arm lightly, almost hesitant. The idea of anyone else even saying your name like that. He stopped, exhaling shakily. It made something inside me snap. Silence fell again, thick and electric. You whispered, barely audible. So, what are we then? He met your eyes, the anger completely gone now, replaced by quiet honesty. I don't know, but for the first time, I don't want to be I don't want to pretend anymore. I want to be yours completely. You looked at him, at the man who once said he didn't care, who now stood before you with the most vulnerable look you had ever seen. For a moment, neither of you said a word, and maybe words weren't needed, because when he finally reached out, his fingers brushed against your wedding ring, tracing it like a silent promise.